Hello, friend. Welcome back to the Identity Glow Up podcast. It is me, your host, Paige Harper, and I am joined today by a very special guest, Falyn. What is it? How do you pronounce her last name?
Michaela. It's actually my middle name.
Michaela.
Michaela.
Okay.
Mhm.
Falyn Michaela. I want to make sure I said it right. And I'm so excited for this conversation because we are diving into some of my favorite topics: identity, of course, desire, self-trust, and becoming the woman you're meant to be. Her work centers around helping women reconnect with their truth and using their desires as a compass rather than something to ignore or push aside. She is passionate about helping women trust themselves, embracing that expansion, and creates lives that feel deeply aligned to who they really are. She's worn many, many hats throughout her journey, which makes this conversation especially powerful because we're talking about reinvention, following the nudges that won't leave you alone, and what happens when you stop living from obligation and start living from desire, which I'm so excited to talk about. So, if you've ever felt like there's more for you, you're meant for more, but you're not quite sure how to almost like trust yourself to go after it, this episode is going to be for you. So, welcome, Falyn. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Paige. So happy to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited. Okay, so first of all, I just want to know a little bit about you. Like, I know you said you wear a lot of different hats throughout your life. And so looking back now, like first of all, I would love to know your story and we can
Sure.
start there and then I'll ask the other question.
Okay, yeah, I think it all kind of interconnects, so it does. Started the normal path, right? Being American, that people pleaser, straight A student, went to college. I actually started off, I always knew, I think I've always had this underlying current of helping people in some way. So I actually started off pre-med, and I did that for 2 years. I loved math and science, but blood, guts, needles, the more I got into it, it started to freak me out. Even though like I was a straight A student in college, I was like, I can't do this. Like, they have these chats with you and these lectures where it's like, this has to be it for you, you're committing. So I mean, you would know from your own background. So I was like, I can't do this. So I did a whole 180-degree shift and ended up doing marketing. And I did international marketing, not because I loved business, but I love to travel. Been on planes since I was young. Ended up doing a study abroad in Panama, which led me then on to super yachts for a decade. Then I moved to Australia for 5 years and I worked in like health and wellness. I got really into energetics in terms of body work and things and really learning like TCM, traditional Chinese medicine. Got really fascinated there. Again, just always trying to figure out how to help others and the best way to do that. And then, of course, that led me to what I do now, where I'm helping others shift identity wise. So yeah,
Oh my gosh, you have lived a full
yes,
life. Goodness
I have.
gracious, that's so cool. Wow, there's like so many chapters. What do you think was a chapter, like some of the chapters that led you to the work that you're doing today? Because you have done so much and like you said, worn so many hats throughout that time. So what do you think are some of like the core chapters that really evolved you into the not just the person who you are today, but like the actual work that you do today?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it definitely became a lot more obvious this path for me when I was working for health and wellness clinics in Australia. Because we would have people come in, basically, they were like detox retreats. Some were for health reasons, some were just trying to, refine themselves. And we'd have these people have these massive transformations, right? You're in this gorgeous environment, you're doing the detoxing, you're getting back into your health. And what really bothered me was people would go away, for 6 months or a year, and they'd come back and they'd come back no longer transformed, because they went back to all the old patterns and all the things they do. So I was trying to figure out like, what is this missing puzzle piece? How can you like do a complete internal glow up and then like it just disappears? And that's like I was starting to get into body work then and doing the energetics. And what I found was it's like it's not just the energy, it's not just the mindset, right? We have to also, touch it at the identity level. So that's where I really kind of started to get curious in my own journey and realizing even though, I was no longer in an environment that caused me to like people please and work 70 hours a week and things, I was still doing that in the wellness clinics, right? Still doing that in a completely different environment. So I was like, ooh, I haven't even made this shift. I'm still exhausted and this environment's no longer asking this of me. So I think it was a personal journey that then led me, obviously you are your first client, right?
Yeah.
Through that whole transformation. But I would say it was probably at the health clinic, seeing people return and not, change that really kind of made me more curious and dive deeper into that world.
Yeah, I love that. And it's almost like you can look at it two ways too. And maybe you did, where it's like on one way, it almost helped you see that there was something missing. Like
Mhm.
all of the stuff that you were doing, I'm sure was amazing that the clinic was doing, but like there's still something missing if it wasn't sticking. Like I talk a lot in my programs, I do a lot of identity work, and it's like, I don't just want the identity to just stick for a day or a month or whatever. Like I want it to stick long term. How can we make it so that way it's long term? And so it's almost like you probably found just like a little part of your brain that's like, hey, I maybe there is something here that's obviously there's something not working. So how can I start like find something almost to make it work, even if that wasn't your initial thing? It sounds like your initial thing was just like, oh my gosh, kind of reflecting on you too. Is that right? Where it's like you see that maybe you're not doing the work that you want to do, or maybe you're not like the identity wise. Is that what you mean by that as far as like the work in that way?
Yeah, yeah, exactly what you're saying. It was, that missing piece where it's like maybe I didn't have the language for exactly what was missing at the time, but I was like, something's not lining up here. And even if we broke it down simple into like the body work, people come in, right? You adjust them, you fix them, you help them release emotions, but then they're going back into those same patterns, the same thought process, the same environment that they came from. So they come back every 2 weeks. And it's like, well, nothing's going to shift until you shift at your core, right? Like,
Mhm.
so recognizing that in both aspects. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think our worlds are very parallel. Identity work is so important.
And that environment is like so key. And I like how you said too, like it's funny that we are our first clients, but also when I'm like speaking to my clients, and I'm sure when you're speaking to yours, it's almost like sometimes you'll say things and it's like, where the hell did that come from? But also like, oh my gosh, I think that I needed to hear that too. Like it's something like we're always learning and we're always growing, which I think is so important as coaches. So I love that. I love that story. I love all the different places that you've been. I think for me, I'm someone that's been in the Midwest my whole entire life. I was trying to think of any time that I traveled. I didn't. I maybe traveled an hour and a half south, but other than that, that's the extent of my traveling as far as like long term. To like be around other people. Like we are actually in the same for the audience. We have the same mentor. One of our mentors is the same. And so it's so important to be in an environment where or to have the option to be in an environment where you can be around other people that are like you, because like you said, like when they would go home from like the clinic or whatever, they would be back in the same environment they were always in. So like of course they're going to switch back into who they always were because they didn't have all of the tools yet. But like that just shows how important environment is too, because like if you continue to go back and you don't really live in this like new identity, I think that says a lot, that you can even see it in that side of things too.
Absolutely. And I think, I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons why I have mentors, right? You're
Mhm.
like putting yourself by choice in that environment because default, like you're going to default back to your baseline. You're going to default back to your environment. So if you're not surrounded by people, thinking bigger, doing all these things, it's not the norm,
Mhm.
right? So you have to put yourself in different places. I mean, I think environment's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. What
That
do
whole
you
symbiosis, right? Like who brings in
exactly?
mercy?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you've done like speaking of environment, like you've been in a lot of different environments. You've had a lot of different pivots. Is there like a pivot that you've done? And I know you talked about like I think was it medical school? Is that what you said? Like you've been in
It was
like
pre-med for 2 years. Yeah.
pre-med. Okay. So with the pre-med and all of that, like that's a big pivot. But then going to all of these other different places and doing all these other different things, there's so many pivots there, so many different environments. Was there any pivot that was like kind of scary or like nerve-wracking to you? And like what did it make you or what did it teach you about yourself? Like the ones that were the scariest pivots that you made?
Yep. I would say the most obvious, craziest pivot was leaving yachting because I was in a secure job, right? I was traveling the world. To everyone else, it looked like the perfect, like, why the hell would you leave that?
Mhm.
This is the dream job, right? And there were definitely aspects travel the world. But internally, something was so off. There was this internal turmoil. So, one, learning to trust yourself enough that you don't actually have to know what the next step is, but you're not in the right chat, or like it's almost like recognizing that the page needs to turn,
Mhm.
right? And it's not like I just went home and like found a job. I moved to Australia by myself. Like I'm not Australian. And I just on a one-way ticket, I booked my Airbnb, the first place I ever lived, on my layover over there, I'm like, am I crazy? Like at the time, I think I was just like high off adrenaline or something. And then, of course, getting there. And I think it's one thing really awesome to bring up is that people think it's just the like big move that kind of shifts your trajectory, but it's also like staying in the journey after that. Because once I got over to Australia, it was the beginning of 2020. So it ended up being COVID.
Oh
The
my
whole world
gosh.
was shutting down, and I had to trust that I just made the right decision to move fucking all the way on the other side of the world. I didn't
Yeah.
see my family for 3 years.
Oh my
But
God.
it was like this big, so I think that's the biggest one for me. But I don't know if you found this as well in your journey. I have found the more we do it, the more we build this self-trust muscle. You're getting your intuition louder, right? You're more connected. It's almost like the more I find myself on that edge, the more I keep going, the more I keep challenging myself. It's not like one big move. I just keep making big move after big move after big move. It's like
Mhm.
addicting.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, maybe it's an adrenaline thing. I don't know. Do you get that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I do. And I think like really I love that you're like trusting your gut. Even in like the COVID times. I had a baby, like a my youngest was born in May of 2020. So I was very pregnant at the beginning the beginning of all the COVID times. But like really something that I've been learning too, and that you just said is like really trusting your gut. Like you know, moms a lot of the times have like this mom gut and they know when their kid's sick and they know when things aren't right or they know when their kid's upset or they just know like there's this like weird like intuition and we listen to it. Most of us, we listen to it, but we don't listen to our gut. Like we don't know how to listen to our gut, our intuition. And it's almost like we allow ego to take over so much. And like just think if you would have allowed this ego or even like this overthinking to take over and be like, oh my gosh, well, what makes sense, quote unquote, in this time is for me to go back home because it's the beginning of COVID time. And like, what am I doing? I should be back home where it's safer because I'm with my family and blah, blah, blah. Like, that would be the safer route. That would be the better route. But instead, you listen to your gut instead of your like, this like, other like I like to call it the ego, like that side of things. Is that something that was normal for you, or is that just kind of just happened and you just followed through with it?
I think looking back now, I could say, yeah, that's a pretty normal pattern for me in terms of like, switching careers, right? Like,
Hmm.
and then from there, I moved to Panama to do my study abroad, but then I lived in Panama because I was just like, I like it here. Let's give it a go. So it's almost like I was always a bit curious or always kind of striving for something different. Maybe that's what I was craving. Um, and like I said, keep changing. And like even in Australia, it was like, okay, I'm going down this health and wellness path. Like, okay, let me become a body worker. Okay, what else brings me joy? Like I was very connected at that time. I don't know if you haven't been to Australia, but it's a very like Byron Bay, very like in the greatest sense. People are very like into the healing world and connection and nature and all of that. And I think that made a really big difference for me, especially too, during a COVID time when the whole world shut down, right? So you kind of only have, I mean, I think a lot of people in a positive way during that time reconnected to themselves
Yeah.
because everything got quiet.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
don't know
oh,
what
that's
your
so good.
exact question was.
No, 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 no,
Went off
you're
on a
good.
tangent.
I love that. They reconnected with themselves because everything got quiet. That's so
Yeah.
true. Because there's some people that like obviously COVID it hit really hard, but also there were a lot of people that I feel like, and maybe it was just my perspective, but I feel like a lot of the more woo-woo, like the spiritual side of things came out. Like a lot more people were looking for that. A lot more people were feeling into them, like because they did have to spend a lot more time alone. And yeah, the world got quiet. I love that. I've never thought of it that way. So thank you for for
Yeah.
bringing that out. That
Pleasure.
was like a mic drop moment. Yeah. So you talk a lot about like desire, like following your desire. Walk me through that a little bit. I know obviously you followed your desire a lot of different places, but what is that like a key part of your work or how does that apply to you and your work and like your passion?
Yep. So desire, as you know, I've followed my desire many times.
Mhm.
I call desire like your divine compass.
Mm.
It is literally like there's a reason, there's a voice telling you, like Australia, for example. I had that thought when I was younger that I was going to live in Australia. My family knew I was going to live in Australia. Why? I had never been to Australia. Like, what the hell was that? But I had to trust
Yeah.
that I was meant to go to Australia. I go, and it ends up being one of the most eye opening chapters for myself. It was one of the most healing chapters. I met my partner who I'm with now on the dance floor in Australia. Like so many things came out of Australia. I don't know if I would have birthed this business
Yeah.
had I not gone to Australia. So it's like I try to first and foremost remind people that they're not separate from everything around them, like the universe, right? We're connected. You can call it universe, God, source, spirit, whatever resonates with you. So I think that's the biggest piece. People feel like they're doing it alone. They
Hmm.
feel like they're, like this stuckness, this like, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how I'm going to go on, going through all these traumas and things like that. And it's like, we're not in it alone. I think we come here for a soul's purpose. This is the journey. And we've got to trust that if there's something, very loud internally, we've got to listen to that.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a big part of my work is giving women that permission slip to trust when it makes no sense, when it's completely irrational and illogical. Because often there's one of the most beautiful quotes. Who is it by? I think it's by Albert Einstein, where he says, the intuitive mind is a sacred gift. The rational mind is the faithful servant. We live in a society that worships the servant and has forgotten the gift. I might have botched
Mhm.
that, but it's something along those lines. But it's so true. It's all about like your output and the logical brain and how we should do things. But that's not, in my mind, that is not at all how my life has been.
Mm-mm.
Some of the most beautiful lessons I've learned and things I've gone through. And that doesn't mean like you don't also go through, rough patches and things like that. But it's that whole just trusting this internal voice because you're connected. So yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. It's a huge part of my work. I think that's probably number one. I did a masterclass a month or two ago and it was like dare to desire, like literally allow yourself to listen to what's, without having to explain why, right?
Mhm.
It's that whole remembering of the co-creation, I guess.
Yeah. I feel like I love the topic of permission slip because I just recorded a podcast yesterday where that was something that she asked was about permission slip and why do so many women feel like they need this like permission slip. So I guess I'm going to ask you like turn around and ask you the same question where it's like, do
Mm.
you feel like there's a lot of women right now that feel like they need that permission slip and why like to go after their desires or whatever and why do you think that is?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of women feel like they need that permission slip, not even like using it as an excuse. I think it's a conditioned
Mm,
like response. I think 100%, not just from, whether how your parents grew up, what you see on TV. Like, I don't really watch television. Every once in a while, when I'm watching a movie or something comes up, it's like, you wonder why people think this way because that's what they're being shown by example, right? And if you never question it, you just think that's how it is. That is the way, right? And I think, I mean, especially with women, there's been such this masculine energy for so long that it's like women felt wrong for wanting more. I feel like definitely I've seen that in society. And it's just like, I think it's really beautiful now, especially in the spaces that we're in, that it's like, there's a lot more light being shed in that area. But I definitely feel like it's conditioning for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah. And I feel like even going after your desires, I feel like that could be like, it's almost like a mix of masculine and feminine because like feminine is like actually allowing yourself to dream and to visualize it and to see it and to all of that. But like then the masculine side of it's like, okay, then go after it. Like my audience knows I'm very much more of like this masculine. I would say my masculine probably overrides my feminine a lot more when it comes to like my energy. I'm very much of like a hustle, let's go. And sometimes that burns me and sometimes it's great. But I think like I could see how desire is like this almost like this perfect, at least in my brain, it's almost like this perfect mix of the feminine and the masculine. Would you say the same thing? Or do you, I'm assuming you do like the feminine and masculine type of energy work, or at least one or the other of some
Yeah,
sort.
no, I think you're right on the money there. I mean, you need both, right? And I think people get like we talked about this on my podcast, it's like there was this wave of like become the feminine and be soft and do all this and that's great, yeah, absolutely, touch into parts of your feminine because so many of us probably used our masculine in a protective way for so long.
Mhm.
But you've got to have both, and different seasons are going to require different parts of you to, be stronger in the masculine and stronger in the feminine. But the desire itself, if you're just desiring it, if you're just sitting up there in dreamland, you're not actually going after it. So it's like following the desire is, yeah, definitely the masculine aspect because you're actually taking action. You're actually going forward in that direction. It's not just merely a fantasy, right? That's not what we're after. We're actually about up leveling and bringing our desires into our reality, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So if there's a woman listening to this right now that is like, I have these passions, I have these like desires, but I almost feel like they need this permission slip to just start, to just go. Cause I feel like there's a lot of women that they do have big passions and all of that. They're either too afraid to say them out loud or they're too afraid to like actually go all in because of the what ifs. Like what would you tell them? What would be like the number one piece of advice that you would give them?
I would first tell them to reconnect because when you're reconnected to yourself, and if you're questioning it and you're trying to think of every reason why you can't do it or need that permission slip, you're one, not connected to yourself, you're disconnected, and you're in your logical head. You're in your brain. You're thinking of every reason not to. Why, if you just trusted yourself, right? Building that self-trust muscle and you're connected, it's almost like this feeling of like I can't not do it.
Mhm.
Like Australia, I couldn't not do it. I had to go. I don't know why. I learned why later, but I had to do it,
Mhm.
and people even, I mean, vice versa, coming back here, I now live in the US. I met my man for 72 hours and then he left again because he's actually not Australian on the dance floor, and people are like, you're crazy. And I'm like, am I though? Like, I don't know. I trust this feeling. Right. And now I live over in the US with them when we had never lived together before.
Mm.
Right. So it's like, it's also okay. Bringing up the self trust, this just made me think of something. It's one of those things. It's like trust yourself and know that if you get to the other side, let's say you go to Australia and it's not exactly what you thought, you're not going to abandon yourself halfway through, right? Something brought you there for a reason. So you got to trust yourself, but you're never going to know if you're living in your head waiting for the permission slip. Like readiness is not a feeling. You just fucking
Mhm.
need to take action and you figure it out as you go. Sorry, I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
allowed to curse.
Oh,
I get
you're good.
passionate about this. I'm like,
You're
do
good.
not sit in your head.
No, you're totally good. And I think that's something like for me, even like before we started the podcast, I was talking to Fallon about how this is my first week, I think ever really that I've truly gone all in on being a business owner as far as like I have a week off, guys. I'm not actually like a full-time business owner yet. It's coming, but not yet. But I freaking like balls to the wall, went all out. And like I said, I think that I found like I know, shocker, guys. I think I found my limit on how much I can work in one week in one sitting. But it's not that I'm like, oh my gosh, oh no, I'm burnt out. I can't ever do this again. Like I'm gonna give up. No, no, no way. Like this isn't for me. Like I'm not completely letting myself go because I'm having like a bump in the road or because there's something that's like maybe my energy's a little lower or something doesn't seem like 100% right or whatever. I just know that like, okay, this was a lesson I needed to learn. This was something I needed to do. This was, the route I needed to take. And now I've learned that lesson. I'm going to move forward. Like, and I know this was done for a purpose. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like that's what like connected to me when you were saying that, like to keep pushing through, not keep pushing through, but keep following your gut, keep following that instinct no matter what, because there's going to be bumps in the road, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean you should give up altogether.
Well, what I'm getting from even what you just said, mirroring it back, is absolutely that. You're not going to get clarity or you're not going to know that that's not the way you want to do things unless you've done it,
Yeah.
or else it's just made up in your head.
Hmm.
Right. So, like, we've got to move.
Yeah.
That's the best piece of advice I can give people. And you're not going to build that self trust muscle and that confidence and all these things that these women want unless you actually do the scary thing and take
Yeah.
the action. Because it's one of those things like once you're on the other side, you're like, oh, wait, that actually was not that bad. Oh,
Yeah.
wait, I can do the scary things.
I can do that. What's happening? Yeah, I think for me, I like to use the analogy of like a car. Like the car is in park, and sometimes we even have like the full freaking parking brake on. So like the car is in park, and we're like, why are we? Why am I not going anywhere? What's happening? I'm pushing on the gas pedal. Or they have the car in drive, but the parking brake is still on, and they're like, why am I moving so slow? What's not happening? It's because you're not fully going all in. It's because you're not like really like you're not going anywhere. So you're not gonna know, like you're not gonna be able to turn right and left if you're still in park. Even if
Yeah.
you're pushing on the gas pedal and you're like turning the steering wheel, you're not gonna be able to turn right or left. You're not gonna know what's the right direction, what's the wrong direction, or even like what path to go down because you're not even allowing yourself to get to that point. So you got to just let go. You got to release. You got to follow your desire. You got to follow the map. You got to follow, like, you have to just start. So, I mean, my audience knows I love that because I'm all about like, don't just sit on your ass and do nothing, especially if you're going to bitch and complain about it. Like, go and follow your desires. That's like so good. You said something too where it was like, reconnect with yourself. What do you mean by that exactly?
Well, bringing up, COVID, like quieting the noise, nature. I mean, there's so many different ways for people to reconnect to themselves, it's really for me out of the head and into the body. It kind of brings back the whole like energetic side of things, right? Like if we're anytime people are in their head and they're asking for the permission slip or they're doing that, I'm like, okay, then you're not connected. You're not actually like able to even hear this other voice in your head that's trying to come through. So it's not going to be the same for everyone. I would say reconnecting, the easiest way to reconnect yourself is like follow what brings you joy, right? Whether that is nature or whether that is, some sort of activity or whether that's just music. I think when you're in the joy frequency, when your heart is open, you're reconnected,
Mm.
you know? I think that's probably, yeah, the fastest way I would say, but obviously that's going to look different for people, different people. For me, ocean. As soon as I'm in the ocean, I'm like, different person.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I think for me, like the reconnecting is really getting like more rooted in my life and even being around my kids, but being around my kids in a sense of like coming back to who I am as a human, as a woman, like as a wife, as a mom, like coming back into that without the constant replay in the back of my mind of like, I should be working my business. I should have done this in my business. Like clearing that part of it of just like leaving it. And it's hard when you're a business owner that works online because you have it at your fingertips all the time. I don't have notifications on my phone because I've learned better, but like you still like it's so easy and it's so I mean addicting to just run to your phone really quick and like look like anybody respond, anybody do this, anybody do that, should I do this really quick? Like let me go. And so for me like having that reconnection is really just like actually like when I went a whole month without my phone, well, not without my phone, I had my phone, but like no scrolling or no, like I didn't allow myself to scroll. I didn't allow myself, like I literally bought crossword puzzles and Sudoku things, like things like that, like word searches. Like I bought those things to not allow myself to kind of like reconnect myself and my grandma hobbies, I like to call them. And a coloring book. I bought a coloring book. And it's so funny because I felt so much more reconnected and like than I ever have. Like I can even tell because I went back to kind of scrolling a little bit, not gonna lie. I went back to scrolling a little bit just because I was on my phone more, posting content. It's easier. And I don't, I can tell I'm not as connected as I was when I put my phone down, right? And so even
Mhm.
then, it's like putting your like for those of you that are moms listening, like reconnecting by putting your phone down, fully going all in on your kids, like being 100% there for them and who you are. Like take away the business owner part of it in that moment and just be you, like just be who you are.
There's two things. Absolutely love that you just said all these things because that's what I tap onto is the tapping back into your creative current, right? So connection. And that is by creating, not consuming. So coloring, things like that, right? You're lighting up different parts of your brain, dancing, being in music, anything that is you. But it also very, very powerful is the power of presence. If you are in your head and thinking about your business, you're not there. You're not physically where you are with your kids.
Right.
Okay. And I think so many people do that. And it's almost like this control aspect of like trying to control what's in the future. Future doesn't exist either. Like all we have is now. So I think there's a book I read a long time ago that, goes more in depth into this, but reminding people of that, right? Nothing's guaranteed,
Mhm.
right? So we have to give ourselves not even the permission, but like be present, be where you are and be there fully now, 110%, or else you're doing everything kind of half-ass. It's like the one
Mhm.
foot here and the one foot there. Like I'm with my family, but I'm texting or I'm scrolling, or you're sitting with your partner, you're not having an in-depth conversation. You're both ticking on your phone. Like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no. So I love
I
that you did that for a month. That's great.
Yeah, it was great. I need to do it again because it definitely like reconnected to me. Like I even remember making posts where like I feel so much more like me. And it's so weird to like have that reconnection, but also I understand how difficult it is to not do that. And I'm not near as bad as I used to be, but to not be on your phone all the time when like you're posting the content. And like this week I've been like going ham on content. Like I'm so excited, I'm so passionate, I'm ready to go. And then when you're on there, it's really easy to just be like, "Oh, what is everybody else saying? Let's see all." You know what I mean? Like it's really easy to do that. So it takes a sense of sacrifice in that sense of like sacrificing that habit that you have, which is not, I mean, sacrifice is looked at such a bad word, but to me it's like you're sacrificing something that really you probably shouldn't be doing anyway. So like it's easier said than done, but I think also when you were talking, you we were talking about social media, but earlier we were talking about desire, and I just had this question pop up where it's like Do you think that there are people that are influenced by social media, that their desires are more influenced by social media more so than like what they actually desire, like their soul's desire? Do you get what I'm asking? Where it's like,
Yeah, well, absolutely. If you're constantly consuming, how are you going to know? Because you're not connected to yourself, right?
Mhm,
You're not connected to your own creative current. You can't do that if you're constantly looking at outside things and this and that. In saying that, like, okay, let's say like I love podcasts, obviously. We both have them. I
yes.
love listening to them. I get inspired by them, but like what I'm listening to matters, right? So that might be connecting me back to like an internal knowing. And it's like this light bulb goes off because someone said one thing that I already knew. So paying attention to what you're consuming is huge. But it made me think of when I said the world went quiet, before I left yachting, there were probably 3 seasons that I could have left, but I was too scared to do it. And so I think a lot of people have this. And what I did do is I went on a solo trip to the Mentawai Islands on a surf trip. And there ended up being this crazy storm, middle of nowhere, knocked down all the power lines. My old job, I was like, even if I was away because I was so close to the owner, I was still paying attention to what the schedule was and everything. And I was very much in it when you're not in it, right? And being in this different environment, absolutely no internet, I think for at least a month. All I had was like eating fish out of the ocean, surfing, reading, all those things. So it was like this forced reconnection. Maybe if I didn't have that, I might not have moved to Australia, you know? So it's like, yeah, especially this day. And I think as a business owner, you have a lot of moms and business owners. It's almost like, I don't even want to use the word discipline, but you almost need to have that discipline, discernment, and know and catch yourself when you are consuming over creating. And I mean, I definitely spend more time on Instagram than I ever would have because, yeah, I've got a business. But it's like
Mhm,
also, if I'm going to go on a walk, I'm not like flicking through my phone when I'm on Instagram because
mhm.
sometimes even like 20 minutes to yourself makes the biggest difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's something I have. I have a hard time doing that just because for me, even like today, so I listen to very motivational stuff. That's how I get my like that's how I journal, and that's like I listen to a specific podcast slash YouTube. And like the last since I've been starting 75 hard, so today's day 5 that we're recording this, I will listen to those motivational videos, which is essentially just men yelling at me. Not actually at me,
Hey, if
but
it
it's
works, it works.
yeah, but it's like I will literally go and I'll be listening to that. I'm like, holy shit, I have an idea. Threads. Da, 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 da. Holy shit, I have another idea. Threads. Da, da, da. So it's like it's not the best habit, but it's so good for my business. So it's almost like how can I find that time where if I'm doing that then where I'm going for a walk and I'm using that as my inspiration time because that's when I get the most ideas. I feel like I'm stuck at a computer all day long with my full-time job. So when I am able to go out and go on a walk, like that's where I get most of my ideas and I want to write them down right that minute, right? So I was thinking about it the other day when I was walking. I was like, these people around me probably think that I am literally like scrolling on my phone right now, but I actually had a um what was it? It was a master class or it was a module or something up, a training, that's the word I was looking for, a training up from my coach that I missed that I needed to, it was in this like mini mind that I needed to like take notes on because I am in it. And so I was like taking notes, like I was working my business as I was walking. I don't know 100% if I would guarantee if I would recommend that to everyone, but I think if you do, if you are a psychopath like I am and you do things like that, don't shame yourself for it, but also try to find a way to have those moments where you can go without your phone and you can just like I drive, this is kind of crazy too. I will drive 90% of the time now. I don't have music on at all. I don't have music. I don't have sometimes I'll have a podcast, but I don't have like anything on. I just listen and watch around me and my drives are very short. But I just like that like silence, right? And so that's like my time. So just because Falyn was saying like the walking with just like being out in nature. For me, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna walk, be out in nature, and listen to some motivational podcasts so I can get a bunch of shit in my brain so I can go on my business. But also, I use my time of the quiet time when like I'm driving or something like that. Still finding that time to do that. It doesn't all have to look the same.
But what you're listening to is good things. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
It's not like so that's a big part of it. People like also like what you said, I love. We don't need to make it wrong, right? Like if that works for you and that motivates you. And I think that I think the best time to put shit up and like is be in the moment, right? The intention
Hmm.
behind it, but it's the energy behind it. It's like you can have an idea drop in and then you forget about it, you write it down, you do it a week later, it's not as potent because the energy is not behind it. So I absolutely think that's great. And when you're doing that, you don't feel like, oh, I've got to go online today and post. It's like I already got my, energy out. And that probably has 10 times more backing than you like writing down like must post today, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's, yeah, a beautiful reminder for everyone that there's no right
Yeah.
or wrong way to do it.
Yeah. I don't know why I keep coming up with like random questions that I'm like, I just want
Love
to
it.
know, like, just from my
Sure.
perspective. So I obviously have a very big desire to be a full-time business owner. Like that is my desire. I feel like my audience is a bunch of high achieving women. Like that is what we do. We want to have our business. We want to make a shit ton of money. We want to help a shit ton of people. Like that is who we are, right? But I have this thing called my full-time job that I want to get out of. And my
Mm.
desire is to leave it, but it's not something realistically, quote unquote, with me being a mom that makes sense right now. So what would you recommend to someone like me? Not trying to get coaching from you over here or anything, but what would you
Yeah.
recommend to someone like
Sure.
me that's like, a
Mhm.
woman that has this desire to go after these things, but has these other responsibilities like kids or whatever on top of that that feels like they can't yet?
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. Well, a few things here. I feel like we could hit this in a few different angles, and obviously Tanya's in my voice or in my head right now.
Mhm.
I think it's one of those things is like you have to, it's not even just deciding the outcome, but it's like, it's that self trust again. Like, if I'm going to do this and I'm going to say I'm going to do this, I trust that I'm going to be fine on the other side. There's going to be bumps and things along the way, but it's like that full on commitment. It's that not one foot in and one foot out. But at the same time, you've got to have discernment. Is that going to throw your nervous system off? Like, I think there's people that thrive under that kind of pressure, right? Where it's like, oh, there's no other way to do it. I've got to make money. And then there's people that pressure actually creates a neediness
Mm.
that actually kills the relationship that you have with your business, because right now it's great, it's fun, you're motivating people, you've got clients, you're doing the thing, but there's not this it must work or else.
Mhm.
So I think having that discernment on how you operate, right, and
Mhm.
knowing that, I mean, I think people, especially with the online space, you're sold this idea that you get in it and it just blows up right away and it's so easy to make money online, which it can be, absolutely, but people don't always explain their journey before that. They might have been like a content creator for 5 years before they started their own business, right? They might have had their other businesses before they did this thing. So I don't think it's a proper view of people's full journey.
Mhm.
And knowing that, I mean, even in your own experience, right? You've been building this business for 3 years, 4 years,
4 years, 4 years,
four
yeah.
years. Yeah. What could I reflect back to you? Is there something that comes up like you're afraid that the business isn't going to take off? Or is there like just even having that curiosity within yourself?
Hmm.
What comes up for you if you leave? Because everyone, I think it's not even the blame game, but we have to remember like our external is a reflection of what's going on internally, right? And you're saying, I've got all these responsibilities, I've got all these things. But is there something a little bit deeper if we shed some more layers that makes you think that your business can't easily cover all of those things and be in that overflow?
Hmm. I love that. I think, yeah, that's definitely work that I've done myself too, for sure. And I think with the financial aspect is like the biggest thing, right? And I think that's probably the biggest thing for most women that are in my position where it's like, well, what if? What if? Because when you're in a job, you have guaranteed quote unquote income as long as, you don't get fired or they don't let you go or whatever. Like you have that kind of sort of guaranteed income compared to a business. But also like for me and something that I've learned like from my coach too is I am someone I've had to like remind myself that I am someone that like, no matter what is going to take care of my children. No matter what. Like obviously, like no matter what. There's still fears and there's still that. So there's that knowing and it's almost like you said where it's like that self-trust of you have to do what's right for you always, always. But like also having that self trust, not just holding yourself back so much where you will never go after your dreams, but having that self trust where it's like, I'm going to figure this out no matter what. And I know that I am because I've trust myself, because I've showed up and I've taken the actions. I haven't shown myself any reason that I can't trust myself, that I can't trust that I'm going to find a way to take care of my kids financially, physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever. Like, I know that everything's going to be fine and reminding yourself of that because you trust yourself. So I think that's a really good point to bring it back to is that self-trust within us and really, I mean, taking it back to the top with your soul, with that like inner knowing, right? With that gut feeling that you have.
Well, leaving the yacht, I bought a house when I was in yachting. So I had a
Mhm.
mortgage and I was about to leave a salary with no job guaranteed in Australia. And then COVID happened. So it was like this whole like, okay, I got to do this and I'll figure it out. And what happens? You figure it out. We're very resourceful. You know, we don't realize that, but it's that, yeah. I mean, Australia is the biggest one because that was just like super crazy. But also, even this business, I'm like, just trust, you know, and
Yeah.
recognizing, I think, even opening, I mean, I don't know how your audience is, but that whole prosperity consciousness conversation, like, your business is not the only channel, right? You
Mhm.
can decide to do things, and there's so many different ways to make money, right? And your pharmacy job, not your only one, but it's one that is guaranteed because it's nothing's a guarantee, but one that feels secure for you, right? It feels
Yeah.
like a certainty for you, especially if you're taking care of your kids and a family and things. So yeah, I think there's that conversation, but yeah, it's this internal like, hey, this is the time. You do have to have your own discernment, but also like, I've definitely had women in my world where it's like they've wanted for the last 10 years to leave their job and they still haven't. It's that
Mm.
next bonus that's it's scary. It doesn't mean it's not scary, but at some point you've got to be like, fuck, it's now or never, and trust yourself and back yourself and know that it'll be fine
Yeah.
because you'll make it fine. Not because like, the universe is going to magically open things up for you. It's because you're an action taker, you're a doer, right? So I
Mhm.
don't think you'd have any problem.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like using that Mel Robbins 5 4 3 2 1 thing, but instead of like waking up, it's just quitting your job. Don't actually quit your job, right? Don't do it just because I said to. But yeah, okay. Oh my gosh, this was amazing. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Is there anything else that we didn't touch on that you wanted to talk about? Or obviously I'll talk in a minute about what you want to share with the audience, maybe as far as what you're offering. But is there any like final parting words that you want to say? We touched on a lot today. This was
I feel
great.
like, yeah, I'm like, we went on a whole different
We did.
roller coaster there, all desires. Yeah, I would just, yeah, remind people, to reconnect, right? That they're not separate, right? I think that's a really important one. And I think that's especially been a feeling that's been lingering since COVID as well. It's like this wave of like people forgetting that they're part of something so much bigger. Opening your perspective, right? Realizing like it was, I mean, the biggest thing is reconnecting because when we can reconnect, we can actually get back to our creative current. We can actually speak from our intuition and not our logical mind. And I feel like you're going to end up on your path.
Yes. Yes. Awesome. Okay. Is there anything you would like to share as far as what you're doing right now? Anything coming up that you'd like to tell them about? Obviously, I will put all of anything that she says here, as well as like her handles, things like that in the show notes. But anything, the floor is yours at this point.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. If you want to come have a chat with me, I love speaking to people, jump into my DMs. I always joke like I don't bite. You can come in, have a chat, say hello. At falynmikala.co on Instagram. I do currently I'm doing application only for my 6 month identity energetics, kind of all encompassing self trust, following your desires, mentorship program. So that's not one on one, it's a group program, but I'm really, really excited about that. So the doors are open for that right now. It's called Unbound, really all about that internal freedom. And I like to say it's like catching the wave of a lifetime. But we can go more into depth if you're interested in that. And obviously, I do have fun little small offerings and things like that. But all of it you can find on my page on Instagram. Oh,
Yay.
and the Fallon frequency. If you love this
Oh,
kind of conversation, I've got the podcast as well.
yes. And I was on her podcast. So you go
Yeah.
check that out as well. We had such a good conversation. Okay. I will put everything, if you just want to send the link over for that, I will put everything in the show notes for you guys. And because he said it was application, right? So if you have the application, I can put that link in there. So, okay.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Fallon, for joining me
Thank
today. This was
you.
so incredible. If you guys love this episode, please make sure you share it to your stories with your takeaways and your favorite part. And of course, tag me and Fallon so we can see who is listening and we can share it to our stories too. And that's all we got. Thank you guys so much for listening. I will talk to you next week. Love you. Bye.